All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, hello, it's your buddy Mr. G. We are going to be working on an animation here today. We are doing this After Effects animation study. So we're kind of observing another logo here that I did. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. We'll make this a little bit smaller. There we go. And get back in here, and we're just going to pull this back. Okay. Now here's the video we're trying to make. Okay, so I've already observed this and I've already done my storyboard for this, but I've got kind of like breakdown visually here. You know, you can kind of see what's going on here. Okay, so I have, like, as we come in, we have a ball. It's going to come in here. It's going to bounce once. It's going to bounce twice. Going to go bong bong, and it's going to bounce up. It's got a little bit of squash and stretch in there we can identify, and then some part right about there, it's going to bounce up and it's going to have this little anticipation with some secondary animation going on, and it's going to shrink and then bounce back out as this little skull. It's going to take a few turns and it's going to bounce up, and as it does this, this ring is going to roll up and it's going to rest inside of that ring after that rolls in. And then we have a lightning bolt that comes in, and we've got a couple sound effects that come in that we need on there. It looks like we have a directional motion blur that we're going to apply to that lightning bolt as we go. Okay, so that's kind of the idea and the composition that we're trying to make here. Okay, so we've got that. I've already storyboarded that out, and I've got my storyboard sitting here with me, and I've got my notepad here as well. Okay, so I'm going to try and get this done in an expeditious fashion here. So I've got After Effects here, and I'm going to bounce over there. So I've already brought in some of these, but I'm going to go ahead and make a new composition, and I'm just going to call this skull logo comp. Okay, we're making a just 1920 by 1080. We're going to do 24 frames per second, and that is going to be 1 minute and 30 seconds, just to give us plenty of time to move out there on that. Okay, we're going to start with just a black background. We're going to go ahead and create that. Okay, so we've got this right here. Okay, now remember, to get your things in here, to bring them in, you can just right click, two fingers, bunny ears, import files, and then you'll go and import those files. Now in the assignment, you have the skull logo, the Adobe Illustrator file, and you have a couple sound effects that you'll need to go and download and bring them in. So you'll go and pick them up. In my case, I've got them in this folder here. You'd click that and go ahead and import that. I've already got it in here. I've got my two sound effects in my skull logo single here and my skull logo comp ready to go here. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to put a just black layer in the background. We're going to need a shape layer that we can use our brush on eventually, so I'm going to go ahead and put that at the bottom of this stack. So I'm going to go to layer, I'm going to go to new, and I'm just going to do a solid layer. I want a solid black here, and I'm going to call this brush layer just so we can remember it. Okay, brush layer here, and I'm just going to leave it black so it meshes with the background, and say OK. Okay, now I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to make a new shape layer for our ball. New shape layer. Okay, and I am going to, on my shape layer, I'm going to make sure I have a sphere. I want it to be the fill of white, just like there. I'm going to say OK, and my stroke, I don't really need a stroke. We can leave one on there though. That's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and draw that. I'm going to draw this out. I'm going to hold down Shift, okay, and I am going to make that layer. Okay, now I'm going to make this ball bounce, and it's kind of hard for me to say with a grid or something to reference that, so I'm going to make one more shape layer. I'm going to do layer, I'm going to do new, and I'm just going to make another shape layer here, and I'm just going to make a rectangle here, and I'm just going to make kind of a ground line here that I can have my ball to bounce on there. It kind of gives me a reference point. Okay, call this shape layer. Let's just rename that to line. And we're going to go ahead and pull that down under that. Okay. All right, then I'll hit Command S. So here is my ball. Again, I'm going to go ahead and I'll rename that just to keep things organized here. Ball layer. Okay, so I've got that. Okay, now what I want to have to bounce once, bounce twice, and then I want it to start bouncing up. Okay, so I'm going to have it bounce once and then bounce twice, and I want it to kind of climb up and end up approximately in the center here. Okay, so before I go moving it, I'm going to go to composition and I want to transform, or excuse me, layer. I'm going to go to selecting my ball layer. I'm going to go to transform, and I want to center anchor point in the layer of the content so I can move it accordingly. Okay, so I am going to get my move tool. Okay, on my ball I want to transform it, and I could just hit my position key and that will bring up just the position key. Okay, I'm going to, or I could also go in here and you can do equally well. You can just go to transform and open all up, but if you close it here and just hit that layer and hit P, that's a quick key just to give position. So I've got position. I want this to be animated because I'm going to have the ball bouncing through there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my stopwatch to add a keyframe. I now have a keyframe. Okay, I've got this set out here. I've got my timeline here expanded enough so that I can see 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or 15 frames. So I am going to move this over just a little bit. So if you can't see those, you can pull this guy up and out and everything. So I want to have this out so that I can see about 12 frames. So that's 24 frames per second. So about every other frame I want to bounce this ball here. Okay, so I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go advance forward and I'm going to go to 12 frames. I've got my move tool and I'm just going to move this guy about there, and then I'm going to go about another 12 frames forward. I will have my frame go up about even with that, and I'm going to go another 12 frames forward and I will have him bounce right there approximately in the middle of my composition. And then I'm going to have him go another 12 frames, have him bounce, holding on my shift key so I can kind of go straight up. 12 frames, have him drop back down, same point, 12 frames, and back up to about there where we'll transform him into the skull. Okay, go ahead and we'll run this through, hit our play button, see how it looks. That looks kind of super awesome. Okay, now I need to transfer this movement a little bit here. Okay, so I am going to bring this here. See if I can grab this here. Now with my pen tool here, I could either drop a point here and move it, or I tend to grab just my move tool in the first place. So I want to add arcs to these. So I kind of want to round this out. It's very angular and robotic looking. So I'm just going to move this up. I'll move up to my next one here, right about in the middle there. And I'm going to move that up there. And you can see that's adding another keyframe as we go. Kind of up there, and right about there we're going to round this guy up just a little bit too. Okay, now an easy way I found that we can kind of round this so they don't kind of do these straight lines and arcs is kind of moving it over here, and I can have it right when I get there is just grabbing your pen tool there, and if you click on the center there, it'll go ahead and even that out and give you a nice arc there, right? And I'm going to go and just progress forward to my next keyframe. Hits the ground, next keyframe, come up here, and I will click that one. And you can fine tune these if you don't like them quite much. So you can always kind of add more arc to it if it doesn't feel right. And move them about. You've got some handles there you can play with. but for time constraints, we're going to go ahead and move forward. Okay, so all right, now I've got that. Hit my play button, kind of watch my animation. Looks groovy, awesome. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pull this back here. Now when it hits the ground here, I want it to have some squash and stretch. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and what I want to do is I want to go to scale. Okay, so I'm going to go to scale, and when I hit here at the bottom, what I want to do is I'm going to squash it a little bit so it squashes as it hits the ground. Okay, now as it squashes down, it should also squash out. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to go ahead and unlock these two because I want to go in two different directions. Okay, so this is the vertical, so I am going to go ahead and to make this easy, I'm going to make this 120, but I want it to swing out, and on the other one I want it to flatten down, and let's say 60, like that. Okay, that looks great. So now my ball is going to go. Okay, now I want it to squash down there, and then I also want it to squash when it gets over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a keyframe there. Okay, now I don't want it to be squashed the entire time. Bounce up. Okay, and I can't see all of my frames, so I'm going to go ahead and get my transform so I can kind of see those keyframes, and I'll get those right on there. So there it's squashed. I'm going to go ahead, and as it comes back down again, I'm going to go ahead and squash it. I'll add another keyframe for scale there, and that will be the last time it's going to bounce before it changes into a skull. Okay, so we've got those right there. Okay, looks great. Now I don't want it to be in that form the entire time, so I'm going to go ahead and I come back here, and I'm going to put this back at 100 and 100. Okay, and then go ahead and lock those back together now. Okay, now I'll go ahead and add that keyframe right here. I should have a keyframe right there for scale that starts at 100%. Okay, and I don't want it to start changing immediately. I want it to change right before it hits the ground. Start there. Okay, and again, I want to go 100, return, they're linked. 100, return. It's not going to work. I got to unlink them, I guess. But I had a quick way to go through there. Okay, so that'll be 100 when it gets there. When it gets to here, we're going to go to scale again, and we're going to add back this to 100, 100, and as we come down again, hit that keyframe 100 and 100. So essentially we only want it to transform when it's about to hit the ground, and after it hits the ground we want it to come back up. We want it to return to its size. This is a callback to when we did our bouncing balls in our first exercise with squash and stretch, where we want things to have some rubbery quality to it so it can accentuate some movement to it. So it's going to go up and it's going to come back down, bounce one more time. So as it comes from here, it's going to go up, return to its shape, come back down right about there. We're going to go ahead and take that keyframe again, go back to 100, go back to 100. It hits the ground, squashes, comes back up. We'll go ahead and make that 100 and 100. Now we could also add some stretch to it as it comes off the ground. That's up to you. That would improve the quality and the visual of it, but in the name of speed, we're going to keep moving along here. Okay, so we've got all of this right here. So we've got our ball bouncing. Let's go ahead and just play that real quick. Spectacular. That looks pretty good. Okay, now while we've got them all in frame here and we've got those there, okay, we're also going to, as it comes up here, we're going to turn it into a little pop out where it's going to go pop and it's going to turn into a skull. So to do that, we are going to go ahead and we're going to, as it reaches the apex of that right there, we're going to have it transform. Okay, now in the video it shrinks down and then pops back out. Okay, so give us some anticipation. So again, we're going to have some scale right there, and we're going to go ahead and add a new keyframe to start at 100, and then we're going to go very quickly. I'm going to go about 2 or 3 frames over, and then I'm going to do another keyframe, but I want it to go ahead and have this locked together here, and let's take it way down to like 10%. Okay, so that's going to quickly change. Oop, messed up there. Let's go Command Z. Scale, 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 scale. Let's get back on scale. Oh, what'd I do? What'd I do? What'd I do? What'd I do? What did all my scale go back to? Edit. Deconstrain proportions. Edit, undo, disable, stopwatch. Oh, I did something to set everything. All of my Command Z, there we go. Okay. I had must have had all of my scale selected there. Okay, so as it comes back up here, okay, we're going to add that keyframe here, this keyframe right here. Then we're going to go ahead a couple frames. Let's make it about 3 or 4. Okay, and then we're going to take that down to 10% and 10%. There we go. Okay, so it's going to go down to 10%. Okay, and then it's going to pop back out. Now let's have it pop back out to about 50% and 50%. And we'll play that all back out here. That looks pretty good. Okay. And then at 1 frame past that, we're going to go ahead and take the opacity on this. We want it to disappear because we're going to make that disappear, and we're going to have the skull replace it as it expands out. Okay, so I need to get my skull in there. Okay, so to get my skull in there, I have that AI file, right? So in here, I've got the skull single layer, and it comes in with layers, and you can see here I can do one of 2 things. If I just drag this in here like that, that's going to give me all those together, and they're going to be all together like that. Okay, now right now I'm just going to pull in the skull because I don't want all 3 of these to deal with right now, so I'm just going to do Command Z and undo that, and I can just open this up and say, hey, I just want the skull part. There's the ring, there's the skull, and then there's the lightning bolt from the AI file. Okay, so I'm just going to pull in the skull right now. Okay, and on the skull there you can see I've got the Command Z. Let me get my move tool. I'm going to pull this over, and we're going to put it right there for right now. Okay, And I'm going to tilt it just a little bit here, like that. Okay. And for right now, I am going to just poke out the eye on that. I'm going to go back to my ball here. Okay. Now, the opacity here I'm going to go ahead and add a keyframe. I want the opacity at 100%. And then one frame over, I'm going to have the opacity at 0% so that it disappears. Okay, so this should play through, bounce, 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 shrink, comes back out, disappears. All right, now on that frame right there is where I want to have my skull. So I'm going to click on the skull there. I'm going to turn it back on. Okay, I'm going to click nope, Command Z. Turn that back on. Oh, it's not the quick key. I don't know what it is off the top of my head right now. Obviously that is the end of the composition to get there. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go transform. I'm going to get to the opacity here. Okay, I'm going to click on opacity. I want to put a new keyframe. This thing out of the way again. Right when that disappears, we're going to have the opacity of the skull. Going to add this, and we're going to say at 0, return. And we're going to go forward as it shrinks out, comes back out, and right there it disappears. That is when we're going to take that opacity, and we're going to take that opacity back up to 100%. Okay, and then we're going to take our skull, and we're going to take the scale of our skull. We'll go ahead and add a keyframe there, and we'll take that at about 50% as well. 50, return, so that it comes there, and as it pops out to the next second, we'll go ahead and go to the 3 there, and then we'll go ahead and make the scale at 100. So we should have an animation that looks like the ball bounces. Okay, looks like that happens a little bit slow there, so we'll pull that together in there a little bit more. And play with your timing there, but you get the idea of how that will happen. Okay, so I want that to shrink, and I want to happen pretty quickly there, so I'm going to pull that just a little bit more in, like that. Okay, now the skull also goes down and bounces one more time, so from here we're going to have that skull is going to go ahead and do a position change. So we're going to go here, and we want to take that position, and then again at that same rate, about 6 halfway frames, we're going to move this guy, hold down shift, come down to here, and then we'll have it come back up to here, and we'll take that back up, awaiting our logo. Okay, so we're going to save right there, and that's where we will stop, and we will pick up with the next lesson, next part of this next. Okay, all right, everybody have a great day, stay creative, make sure you save your work, and I will talk to you soon.